Guys, something weird has been happening. And no, it's not my constantly changing hairstyle.
Bruh.
Movie press tours suck.
Do you find it hard for celebrities to talk to media about their sexuality?
What on earth are you on about?
Don't ask me a question like that. I'm not biting.
No, seriously, we have to talk about this. What do you want? Are you trying to fit into your pants?
Bye.
With the recent disaster of Madame Web, Bradley Cooper's failed Oscar campaign, and Cillian Murphy calling the press tour model just straight up boring, I want to get to the bottom of why press tours are just so terrible. And I think I've boiled it down to 3 main problems, and I think I'm gonna be able to provide a good solution to fix them. Because who doesn't want to hear my marketing expertise, obviously. But I'm not gonna be able to do this alone. That was my friend Serena.
Hello.
Aside from being one of my good friends and inspiring me to make this video, she is sort of an expert on this subject.
Timothée Chalamet, have you heard of him? Did I paint Timothée Chalamet recently? Yeah, maybe. You don't need to show this to the kid.
I knew if I was gonna get to the bottom of this problem, I would need her expertise.
Actually, I kind of want to hold him for the interview.
The interview. So tell me about this random little movie Dune that you probably saw once or twice, and the state of its press tour.
What a random question, Lucas. I can't believe you asked me this.
It's this incredible movie that everyone is head over heels for. A-list cast, fascinating director. Everyone has something interesting to say. And yet, if you've watched the Dune press tour, you'll find out that a lot of the questions that we're actually getting about Dune that are being asked are not about Dune.
Wait, how can a press tour promoting a movie not actually be about the movie? Let's come back to this and talk about our friendly neighborhood Madame Web.
Get off, get off, get up. Me? Go, get off. You're gonna die if you stay here.
Don't think I really need to fill you in much on what happened. We were all witness to it like a month ago. Dakota Johnson is known for her dry wit. She kind of gives off that I don't care vibe. Like, do you guys remember that Ellen clip from a couple years ago?
Want to be invited to a party.
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Using her brand, which now has become this witty, dry sense of humor, they tried their best attempt at viral marketing. Now, how did they do this? Well, you guys probably saw the clips. She went on this press tour where she claimed to not really care about the movie, or if she didn't straight up say that, then it was sort of expressed in how she was trying to sell it.
So, while my character in the movie may be able to see the future, I also can. And I know what the future brings. I know that when you see Madame Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice. Spider-Man, here he comes.
Here he comes,
That's number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is the Goblet of Spider-Man.
Of course, not at the movie's release, and we've all seen it. It's astonishingly bad.
How is she going to talk about this movie that is unsellable now because we know it's a joke? And if she tries to sell it, we know she's lying, and that goes against our perception of Dakota Johnson as kind of unhinged and blunt. But then also, if she went too hard on the I hate this project, studios are mad, she seems ungrateful, she seems like she's not taking a career seriously, and it's this weird in-between of how do you stay honest about yourself but also fulfill the personality that people expect of you but pitch the project.
I think what Sony tried to do in this press tour is try to get people to show up for the movie ironically or as a joke. I think Gen Z has sort of established itself as this generation of people who do things for the bit or as a joke. And so what they attempted to do with this was get Gen Z to show up to the movie as a joke. They knew it was bad, audiences knew it was going to be bad, so they wanted to see people show out just for that. So meme marketing or unserious marketing is our first problem. One of the major problems with this strategy is people saw through their attempts. The whole thing felt inorganic and weird, especially when it didn't seem like they had faith in the project since the beginning. This lack of faith is one of the problems that may have resulted in the use of unserious marketing, but I think Madame Web is a good case study as to why this inorganic attempt at capturing the interests of an entire generation failed. The most recent time something like this worked was with the Minions movie, when kids just showed up in fleets, in suits, and it became a big event and a random hit that kind of no one expected. Now, the main difference between these two things is that Despicable Me, or the Minions IP, is a reliable IP. There's been 3 movies. That was, I think, the Minions sequel. So even if kids were going for the bid or as a joke, They at least knew what the probable outcome would be because they know what they're getting when they're going to a Minions movie. And I was one of those people. I went to the Minions movie opening night. Me and my friend went. I didn't wear a suit, but everyone else was wearing suits. The whole thing was fun. It was a lot of fun. Madame Web didn't have the same outcome because of a couple reasons. First of all, because Madame Web is not really a reliable IP. Yes, it is a part of the Spider-Man canon, but ask most kids, they're not going to know who Madame Web is, nor are they really going to care. Unless it was implemented in the Avengers movie or something. People aren't going to show up to be like, oh yeah, I grew up loving Madame Web and all of her comics, because I don't really think the general public has consumed that. And the other reason is because nobody took Madame Web seriously. There was never a point in time where anyone thought it could be a good movie. From the second the first trailer dropped, everybody knew this was going to be a disaster. Meme marketing seemed to be their fallback plan. If we can't make this product look good, then let's try to sell it as a joke. The reason this doesn't work is because nobody's going to throw their money into a pit of fire. A product is only as good as its marketing. If it's marketed well, people will buy it. If it's not, they won't. Yes, of course, people are going to go watch a train wreck, but you're not going to get a $100 million movie out of it. But on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have Bradley Cooper's Oscar campaign. Now, I recognize that an Oscar campaign is not the exact same thing as a film press tour, although they both share a common goal in that they want more people to watch the movie. Except with an Oscar campaign, the goal is to get Academy voters to watch the movie and then vote for them for the Oscar or whatever award. First of all, I want to say I do love Bradley Cooper. I loved A Star Is Born. I love pretty much every movie he's appeared in. I think he's wonderfully talented. And fans of the channel know that I was extremely excited for Maestro. It was probably one of my most anticipated movies of the year. But it was kind of disappointing and it was not a great movie. Now, I'm not here to provide my whole analysis on Maestro and why I don't think it's a great movie. You can go read my Letterboxd review if you're interested in that. I kind of rambled on there. But after watching the movie twice and, being sort of underwhelmed by it, you can imagine my surprise when Steven Spielberg, Guillermo del Toro, Spike Lee, Alfonso Cuarón are all praising this movie.
This was a mitzvah. Thank you for this. What blew me away was I had never seen any Star is Born like the one you made, and I could not possibly believe that was your first directed motion picture. And I am triply knocked out by the fact that Maestro is only your second motion picture.
How did you work in this great film? It's the bomb, man.
And I think that the amazing achievement of this film is that intangible.
And these are the most prestigious filmmakers ever, arguably. So I was just dumbfounded, and it was pure entertainment for me all award season. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to shame Bradley Cooper for his Oscar efforts. I also want an Oscar really bad. Now 2 videos in a row I've talked about it. Since Bradley Cooper is at the center of this film, being its writer, director, and star, it pulls the curtain back on my second problem, which is content saturation. This campaign tour perfectly contrasts Madame Web's because people believed that Bradley Cooper takes himself too seriously.
And I said a prayer to Lenny in front of everybody, which was hard.
Like I said, he is the film's auteur. He has to be at its center. But I don't necessarily believe that he even took himself too seriously. I don't think there's really any shame in chasing something or being proud of something you worked hard towards. But it's the sheer amount of Bradley Cooper interviews and Maestro content that made people turn against Cooper and his movie. The public, and including myself, becomes so quickly tired of the same stories that he's repeating to these different filmmakers in these hour-long interviews.
Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny, and I just love the power of the illusion of making music with your hand.
That was, as I was saying, Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny.
Oh, from there?
Yeah.
It started with Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny as a kid, watching them conduct, asking Santa Claus for a baton when I was about 8 or so.
It's just an endless stream of Bradley Cooper and just an endless stream of content. The oversaturation of content can not only be tiring for its celebrities, but also its audiences. Like I said, I was so tired of seeing the same questions and stories told by Bradley Cooper to all these legendary filmmakers. I mean, it just felt like they were all given a script because they all get their projects funded by Netflix. It just got to a point where it became obvious that it was no longer about the movie or about the story. It was about the content that they were cranking out to try to get more and more and more people to get their eyes on the product. Which, yes, I understand that is the entire point of these press tours and these media tours and interviews and whatever. But if the interviews and content was better, I wouldn't be making this video right now. I'm using Maestro as my jumping off point here, but I believe these moderated Q&As with filmmakers filmmakers and Bradley Cooper are some of the better examples of this. When you watch enough of these interviews, that illusion is broken and the script reveals itself. But if you watch just one of them, there may be some value to be found in it. But the reason I still consider it content is because of that very reason I just stated. They are mass-produced and they recycle the same script. Interviewing is a difficult skill, and that is something that people are really good at and oftentimes really bad at. And we see that with the prioritization that companies are taking by trying to produce viral clips and headlines instead of a interesting or thought-provoking interview. I'm of course referring to the videos where the cast quizzes each other or asks each other juicy questions, or they go undercover on the internet. In a profile Cillian Murphy recently did for GQ, he called press tours a broken model, claiming that everybody is so bored. I think this idea of excessive content and fatigue is at the core of Cillian's idea. This leads us into my final problem, which is our culture's celebrity obsession.
I mean, everyone jokes about Cillian Murphy's like introversion and dislike of press tours, but I think that comes from a very real place of press tours have strayed away from talking about the actual film and talking about things that might reflect the movie and more selling the movie and selling the concept of celebrity. So the questions are asked now are about like, is the cast friends? Let's find out how well they know each other. And there's all these gimmicks about everyone expects the cast to be best friends, and that takes away from actually hearing about the movie.
I mean, this is exactly what Cillian Murphy complained about. He's not a bad interview, he just doesn't want to talk about himself. I think we as a culture are so celebrity obsessed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not immune to this. When I met Daniel Kwan last year, it was first off on my birthday, which was awesome. And he was also fresh off of an Everything Everywhere All at Once Oscar sweep. I mean, I was over the moon. I was freaking out. I mean, this is a guy that's been on my TV and creates art that I love. And so yeah, I'm not immune to being starstruck. The problem with this content is that it's based around the person rather than the art. It provides the consumer with this illusion that you are getting a personal look into their lives. This is bad primarily for the toxic parasocial relationship that the consumer may form with a celebrity, a problem that is continuously getting worse as a result of these social media platforms.
And it feels like such a curmudgeon-y thing to say social media, but social media now sort of rules the film world more than it ever has, and that just continues to increase. Like Barbie and Oppenheimer, incredible movies, love them. Would they have been phenomenons without the social media phenomenon they were? I don't know.
But this doesn't just affect the consumer. Because of the celebrity's livelihood, it is challenging for them to live a private life. That's why some celebrities are made fun of when they don't play the media's games. Because who wouldn't want their life, right? Guys, sorry, but they're just doing their job.
A lot of the questions that we're actually getting about Dune that are being asked are not about Dune. And it's been driving me crazy because as much as I love seeing these celebrities do whatever, the Dune press tour has become the product of a very broken press media cycle that we have. One of the things that keeps happening in the Dune press tour that I know film Twitter always gets annoyed by is people continuously asking Timothy and Zendaya if it's weird for them to kiss because they're friends. And every time they sort of politely say, oh, we're coworkers. But I think that's such a weird moment because it does sort of feel like sometimes we forget that they are just coworkers and this is their job.
It'd be like if you worked in an office, right? And a TikTok interviewer came up to you and was like, have you ever made out with your coworker? Like, do you want to be answering those questions? Like, it's just kind of weird. The obvious difference is that oftentimes we see those scenes on film, but that doesn't make it any less awkward, especially if those people are in relationships. Our culture has deemed this okay, and maybe that is the price of being a public figure, but I think it's worthy of criticism. Obviously, what you're watching right now is content. I'm sorry to break the fourth wall, but it is, as much as I hate to say it. And I think the conversation between what is content and what is art is a entirely different video in itself. In fact, I think it's already been made. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm some giant cynic and I am bigger than all of these interviews. Of course not. I've watched them. I'm just like everyone else. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to reflect on this content-obsessed world we live in. Up until this point, I've only talked about the lows of press tours. But of course, like anything, there's some highs. There's some good stuff out there. I think Letterboxd. Does that sound right, saying that plural? Well, I'm sure you guys have all seen their 4 favorite film videos that are all over TikTok, YouTube, pretty much everywhere.
What are your 4 favorite...
You bitch.
It's cute, it's definitely gimmicky, but it's nice to hear some of your favorite actors and directors' favorite films. It can give you an insight into them and also maybe teach you something new. I think it definitely falls into the content machine. I mean, they're short, often 2-minute videos, maybe even less, but I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. Some other formats I want to highlight are the scene breakdowns, where a director or an actor will break down the process of a scene. The career breakdown / iconic character videos are good, but they have started to do it for young actors, which doesn't really work because they don't have much of a career to break down. And lastly, the puppy interview, because yeah, but I think the whole solution to this problem is what Cillian Murphy has suggested. Just let artists talk about art. Actors, directors, editors, composers, anyone who's involved in a creative career love to talk about their work. Yes, we could all laugh at Bradley Cooper crying around Bernstein's kids for missing him so much, but one thing we cannot take away from him is how much he loves what he does. Hot Ones over the past couple years has sort of revolutionized what a good interview looks like in this content creation era. Their guests are often floored by Sean Evans' thoughtful questions about both their personal lives and work.
How the hell did you find out about the South Coast repertory? You're the first person to ask me.
But then there's also that gimmick with the wings.
No, I don't want to be out. I can do one more.
The show with hot questions and even hotter wings is the perfect place to create viral content, but the viewer also walks away feeling something. With the span of the 20-minute episodes, Evans often forms bonds with guests that aren't seen on other shows. The humanity he brings to these interviews by valuing the guests and the interview itself is why the show has been so successful for as long as it has been. With late night as kind of a dying form, Hot Ones is a breath of fresh air. But not if you've just had a bunch of wings. Your breath probably doesn't smell very good. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. Same thing with like Chicken Shop Date. Weirdly, every good interview show nowadays involves chicken, but it's another interview format that's very unique and also very human, which I feel like a lot of content lacks. I also really love Greta Gerwig's interview that she did with Letterboxd, where she talks about all these movies that inspired Barbie. This long-form discussion offers Greta a platform to talk about movies she loves and also show audiences some movies they may not have heard of. If you want audiences to engage with a product, they need to care about it. There needs to be a sense of humanity to it. With today's obsession with clicks and views dominating what is deemed as good content, we have lost sight of why people engage with media in the first place. Behind every piece of content is a person with their own story. Media gives storytellers a platform to shine, and if we waste our time worrying about retention or being taken seriously, you may lose the humanity and emotion that will help connect audiences to your story for longer than just its runtime. Because if we put more thought into what we create, the results will follow.
Thank you, man. You did so good. That was really fun. You had a good time? Yeah, so much fun.
So if you feel like you walked away from this, feeling like you learned something, consider subscribing, liking the video, because I want to keep trying to make good content for you guys. Also, thank you to my celebrity correspondent, Serena, because this video would quite literally not exist without her. Also, click on the video that's on the screen right now. YouTube thinks you'll like it, and hopefully you'll learn something from it too. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.